Hello, welcome to CLSP Politics. Sean Briscoe speaking. So, I got a lot of questions on my feed about PACs and all that stuff, and we're going to be seeing a lot of the little bitty writing at the bottom of commercials and mailers and things of that nature. So, I thought I'd go over kind of some of the larger PACs, the ones that we're going to see in the Senate races and congressional races, and all the different kinds, because there's a lot of confusion behind what they are, what they do, how they can do it, what are the laws and things of that nature. So I thought I would go through some of them just so we all, when we talk about PACs, we do it from a place of understanding instead of just red and blue, these things are terrible. Because I'll be honest, um, been doing this work for 30 years. I like working for political action committees over candidates for a couple reasons. And not the least of which is you actually get paid on time. And when you're professional doing this work, that's kind of the game. So it's not to mention when you're dealing with candidates, there's a lot of ego involved and you have to navigate that. With PACs, there's a committee, usually leadership committee of some kind, and they have a couple different names for it. It varies. But those guys are there to get something done. Usually they're there to make decisions. They make them much quicker and to be honest, because of the level of money, the professionals that you work with are just better because they've already worked for nothing, working for a candidate, and they've kind of moved on. Uh, so you just get a better group of individuals that you can work with. And I'll be honest, in this business, it's really about the people you're working with because this work is 15 hours a day. It's grueling. And knowing the people that you work with and knowing that they're competent and they're not somebody's nephew or cousin or whatever, that they're here because they are professional, makes a huge difference. So with that being said, just want everyone to know where I was. I mean, are they evil? Absolutely. The super PACs specifically, and we'll get into those. Don't worry, there's lots of stuff I don't like about PACs. One thing I do like about PACs are on the ones that are not evil, and there's a lot that are evil and a lot that are good. They attract solid quality staff and you get paid on time. I mean, in this business, you just really can't ask for much more than that. So let's talk about the top PACs, the ones that you're going to see on the large media buys, the big mailers, that kind of stuff. So you get America PAC, right? So these guys. So when I was talking about evil, yeah, these guys are the worst. They're a conservative GOP PAC. These are the guys who funded Trump. This is where Elon's money goes into. It's America PAC, America. My God, these guys are the worst. They if you see America PAC in somebody's campaign finance report, they're not. Don't vote for them. All I gotta say about that. They are the worst. They were the ones who rolled into Wisconsin in a very big way and funded the Supreme Court nominee back a year ago, last spring, and they were the ones that. And these guys. So you can have all the money in the world, but if you spend it stupid, then it doesn't really matter. And sometimes it matters, but if you spend it stupid, you can look at a campaign finance report and you can see, these guys love sending mail. Mail is like for every 140, $150 you spend, you might get one vote. Right. So it's a terrible ROI, but they love it. And thank God. Because if these guys got smart and spent their money smart, we'd be in real trouble. More trouble than we're in now. It's hard to believe, I know, but it's facts. Um, Priorities USA Action. Now, this is a Democratic Party super PAC. Uh, they fund, you know, the presidentials mostly, but they'll also do congressional campaigns and stuff like that. But they're generally the large, big campaigns. So you'll see their money in Georgia, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin sometimes. Uh, these guys play at the presidential level, and then they'll pick the Senate races that need big money, and they'll go there. America Bridge 21st Century PAC. This is so not all super PACs do the same thing. The reason I included this one is because this is a kind of an interesting one. They're mostly op research. They call it opposition research, and these guys are really interesting because they do a lot of the digital ads, a lot of the stuff you'll see. Uh, that they'll do a lot of animated stuff. They're really interesting, and they don't ever directly support candidates, but they'll absolutely be spending money against the ICE, you know, uh, detention cells, the border prisons, the environmental stuff. They'll push that pretty hard. They'll push social issues, women's health, things of that nature. And what's interesting about their stuff is they do almost as much research as they do advertising and things of that nature. I like these guys. These are kind of my favorite people. But all right. Then there's sector aligned ideological PACs. Okay, these are a little different, right? So these guys are the crypto PAC. They're bipartisan and they will dump money into Democratic campaigns. Let me tell you. But if you're in a primary and you see these guys in the Democratic primary funding one of the other candidates, guarantee 100% these guys that candidate is going to be down with doing server farms in your backyard, uh, and also they're super down with the unregulated crypto market. Super fun. These guys are. It's like it's almost like a pro gambling pack. It's just so weird. Um, okay, so these are the guys that they're insidious. So all that stuff you saw about the libraries and keeping books with like gay penguins out of libraries, that's these guys. Um, they're real. They're basically funded by very very wealthy Republicans. They dump huge amounts of money into races that never saw money like that before, like board of education, city council, uh, things of that nature, commissioner races, sometimes mayoral races, quite often. They'll dump money into all sorts of weird places, down ballot stuff. This is the stuff that really does damage. These guys, because no one pays attention to down ballot races, really, which is unfortunate because I really think those are the races that actually, on a day to day basis, I can assure you, your city council person has more to do with your life than any president you've ever voted for. And these are the guys that go in and just get the worst people elected. All right. These guys also do a lot of social advocacy. These guys are, and yeah, I don't know if you know, but the names of these packs are just the worst. Principles, America, blah, blah, blah. Ugh. Anyway, these guys push a lot of the pro life agenda, things of that nature. You see these guys turn around. These guys, well, they're pretty. This is what I like about Democratic PACs. They tell you exactly what they're doing. They're not American principles and vagueness and yada yada. These guys are LGBTQ plus victory fund. You know exactly what these guys are up to. I love these guys. These guys know how to party. Real quick, if you haven't already, and some of you have, and some of you haven't, I see a lot of people see my videos, but that aren't subscribed to my channel. I'm not monetized by YouTube or anything, but if you would like and subscribe, that would be great. Just lets me keep track of who's watching, what people are interested in, things of that nature. Like I said, I'm not monetized at all, so this is all done out of my pocket, and I use this as a way to vent and as a way to just get information out there. Okay, back to the show. Grassroots party support packs. These are interesting because these are the ones that are kind of the logistics packs. So if you've donated to a campaign, you know what Act Blue is, right? If you donated to a Democratic campaign, you vote for Act Blue. I mean, you donated using Act Blue. It's kind of like a portal. You donate, they take like 3%, and they help candidates with all of they'll make sure that no one overgives. So, because there's limits to federal races and other states, not Texas, other states have state limits to how much money can be given by an individual. And Act Blue will help you keep track of that. And WinRed is the Republican Act Blue, just evil and terrible, but also very efficient at what they do. And when I say terrible, I don't mean skill level. I mean ethics, morals, and oh my God, the people they help. But no, Act Blue does a good job. They work pretty hard, and uh, they're they're an interesting platform, and they do some interesting things for donations. For example, they'll do programs where if you just want to donate to young candidates, well, you can do that through Act Blue. You can say, I'm not donating to anyone that's not, I want everyone under the age of 30 is going to get it, and here's my $20, and they'll take that $20 and divide it up again amongst all the people who are under 30, under 40, running for Congress. Yeah, they do stuff like that. So the reason I know that is I've run a candidate under 40, and we would get these real random number donations by individuals that weren't from anywhere near us, and certainly no one we spoke to. Plus, no one donates $118. No one donates 67 cents. So you get these really crazy, bizarro numbers, and it's because they'll take that $20 and divide it up amongst the candidates that meet the profile of what those donors are looking for. So I love Act Blue. Act Blue does a good job. Because of the work I do, I've had to work with Act Blue quite a bit. So let's talk about how PACs influence funding real quick. Okay. So, all right. Well, PACs contribute directly to candidates. They are subject to limits, right? This isn't the unlimited, terrible, awful money that we always talk about. These guys can either support or oppose a candidate, and they do it mostly through ad mailers and canvassing. That's the stuff that I do. I work with these guys quite a bit. Super PACs. These are the guys that can raise and spend unlimited amounts of money, and they donate, lots. Like, so, for example, in the U.S. Senate primary that we're dealing with here in Texas, and I'm going to do a show in a couple days about that. They do a lot. I mean, probably 4 out of every $5 on the Republican side comes from super PACs. It's kind of nuts. Then there's these hybrid PACs, which they combine traditional PACs contribution limits with unlimited independent expenditures. So they're a weird hybrid version. They keep the money in two different groups, or silos is I think really what they call it. And they can do certain money with this side, 501c3 and 501c4, and I'll get into that in a different show. But they can do different things with this money, and they do it different ways. So uh dark month. Oh, these guys. Okay. So These are the bundlers. These are groups of nonprofits, usually ideologically lean to the right, although we do have a few that are not right, but the vast majority of them are right leaning, funded by uber wealthy individuals pushing far right agendas. These guys are those nonprofits where we don't know who gave what money. They're the kind of like the middlemen. So what happens is all these people who like own Target and Walmart and whatever companies, companies that people use all the time, right? And they own them, but they're right wing nut jobs and they want to give money to Republicans because they want tax breaks because they're millionaires and billionaires. They form these nonprofits and they give them names that make no sense. Like you would never even know that what they do. In fact, they probably go on to like AI and type in, I need a name of a nonprofit and this is what this nonprofit does, but I want a name that is exactly the opposite of this. And then that's the name they'll go with. Uh, so these nonprofits have completely nonsense like rainbow, sparkles, whatever, unicorn group nonprofit. And they'll bundle all the money there from all the right wing billionaires and millionaires. And then they move that money into super PACs and PACs. So you don't see the names of the people who actually are giving to these PACs and super PACs. You see just rainbow sparkles. That's all you see. Rainbow Sparkles gave $5 million. That's what you see. You don't see the actual individual Koch brothers and yada, yada, yada of what they give. Now, there are some that we do see, and we see they also give to those groups, and that's how we can kind of tell where they are at. But these guys, man, this is where the real smoke filled rooms happen. I mean, ironically, the voters that these guys target are all like super hardcore conspiracy nut jobs. This is the actual conspiracy. And they're funding the Republicans. It's nuts. Um, so you're like, man, this is terrible. You just ruined my day. I'm like, well, there are some really good ways you can track these PACs. Now, I can't do much about those nonprofits. They're literally designed to obfuscate. But the FEC does a great job. Most of the data that I show you guys on my channel, I get it from the FEC. It's really the only place I trust. There's a few others, and I'm going to give them over here too. But the FEC website's very easy to navigate. The search bar, literally, you just put the candidate's name. And by the way, you will want to, if it's Bob something and nothing pops up, try Robert. Um, what's interesting is these candidates will use, I guess they're what their friends call them when they fill out forms and different stuff. So when you go look them up in the FEC to see who's really funding them, they'll go by their middle name or their full first name. So anyway, other than that, FEC does a great job, and that's not the FEC's fault. FEC has to take their legal name, and they'll just use their shortened name on the stuff that we see regularly. So just there's a little clue on, if you get stuck looking up a candidate, you can do that. Open Secrets and Center for Responsive Politics, also very good. They do a lot of really good stuff on the PACs, and they they do they'll do some really good trending data, comparative analysis. I love these guys. I go to these guys all the time. I'll probably there will be a point in this year where I will spend a lot of time. Like case in point, the end of this month, January of 2026, I will be on both of these websites a lot because I'm going to pull all the data for my follow-up shows on all of the Senate and congressional races that I've just spent the last 3 or 4 months talking about. This is where I go. That and the FEC, of course. Uh, there's a couple of really cool tools. There's the Pack Explorer. It's still in beta, but it works pretty good. It's an older visualization site. It does all right. And then you've got an Open FEC API pack. API function. They're good for building custom queries. You can put together all sorts of interesting financial data that way. That's definitely next level, but if you're into it and you really, really want to know what's going on, don't listen to the news. Definitely don't listen to the campaigns. Listen to the math. So you're like, okay, so now I know where to find the information. I know what these packs are up to, and I know how they work more or less. What do I do? Well, you want to see what they're doing. What agenda are they pushing, and who are they using as their front man to push it? Usually it's someone who's going to end up on a ballot. So let's do that. So you start with your candidate, right? The one you care about. And you can just go in and look at the FEC reports. You can see what packs have been giving to that candidate. You can look for independent expenditures. You know, they're they'll show you like who's spending on what. These are groups that cannot coordinate with a campaign, but you can see where they're spending their money and on what are they spending their money. So these are the two really important ones you want to start with. Your candidate, and then look for independent expenditures spending money in those races. Very key. You can do some of the fun stuff that I like to do, which is track patterns of gain. In fact, I spent a lot of time running Democrats in Texas. I've spent a lot of time doing that, right? And what's interesting is I always go, well, they won already. So I can take all their campaign finance information, reverse engineer it, put it in a timeline, look at percentage of how they spent on where and when and what. And I can, because I've worked in over 200 campaigns, I can go in and I can rebuild what they did and how they did it. And because they won and humans are human, odds are that's exactly what they're going to do again. It's literally one of my jobs is I go in and I track giving patterns and watch donor resources. That's literally probably one of my favorite things I do. I reverse engineer campaigns to find out how they spent their money, because what that'll tell me is like if they spent a bunch of money on mail, well then I know they're wasting a bunch of their money. So I can say, okay, yeah, they've got $3 million, but they spend their money stupid. In fact, they spent half of it, 1.5 million, right, on mail. Well, mail has a response rate of like 0.5% or something is your ROI on mail. So I can take that 1.5 and say, really, that was probably worth 100 grand, maybe $10,000. So that's part of what I do. And I can say, okay, so this really isn't the biggest giant in the world. They're spending their money real dumb. So that's kind of the quick 24-minute version of packs and how they use their power. I'm doing a few of these this week because a lot of people had some questions and people are starting to see the very fine print at the bottom of commercials. And I wanted them to understand exactly how this all works. So you'll see another one of these tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Like I said, if you're running for office, you can send me an email at Sean@CLSP Otherwise, I'm on YouTube, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and Substack. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.